the addition or the explanation by the court for the First Amendment under the Patriot Act or War on Terrorism.
So the terrorism laws for the United States are written in terms of terrorists are those who are going to use fear or violence to intimidate the government to break down the government services. And so there's a real legitimate means there, but the whole definition is very interesting because it is completely dependent on our foreign policy. In other words, just like you're saying, if Hamas, who has the majority of people in Gaza, were recognized as a government, elected government, and we recognized Hamas, then of course we'd have to take them off the terrorist list because, they wouldn't be against us.
They're not. As of now, they are not.
They would be part of us. But as long as we don't recognize them, they can be on the terrorist list, and we allow Israel, or with our support, to use violence against them because they shoot rockets, into
if
Israel.
If the idea of all this to protect our security,
right.
This policy, it's not. It's make us less secure, alienate millions of people, and somebody could make the case that supporting Israel is really the one is really threatening our security.
Well,
and so people made that case before.
Yeah. And so you get into what are the intentions in the Middle East to begin the Iraq War.
Here we go.
To continue the Afghan war, our different policies. What are they? Is it to basically control the Middle East? I'd say that's, one argument. And then does that whole policy, when it involves the use of violence and war and killing and things like that, is that contrary to our national security because we keep spawning more terrorists and more crazy people that want to do those sorts of things? I think that's a pretty strong argument. Evidently, the Pentagon and the administration are so deeply committed to using military force, they think they're doing some good for national security.
As a law adherent of law yourself, a student of law, how much of our laws is affected by our politics and our culture? I thought that should be independent.
Well, you can see, at a time when there is war and there is fear among the population, then the Congress people,
they make the law.
Congressmen and women, they make the law, and they will pass laws like this law that we're talking about. That you can get 15 years for material support, including advocacy or other protected First Amendment things of a foreign terrorist organization. So the law is affected by the politics, by the social conditions, by the immigration laws that are being enacted. The whole immigration law after 9/11 became a tool in the war on terrorism because it allowed ICE and other immigration officials to do all sorts of things they couldn't do before then. So the law is greatly affected by politics.
We have a Supreme Court, and we elect them for life to really interpret the law and without any fear of losing job or being affiliated with any party. Wouldn't that be a safeguard for all what the Congress is doing?
Yes.
Oversight?
Yeah, and interpretation. Now, unfortunately, some of the justices, view that interpretive role not separate from politics. In fact, all of them at some time. Uh-huh. The public conception is that the court doesn't get involved in politics at all, and that is how it should be, and they should interpret the law. However, a case comes along like Bush versus Gore, and people begin to think, oh my gosh, politics does control here. And you can see the political end, like Justice Thomas, Justice Roberts, Justice Scalia are very, very deferential to executive in the war powers area. Mm-hmm. Whereas Justice Ginsburg, Justice Breyer, Justice Sotomayor, who were the dissent in the case we were talking about, have a different view and say exactly what you said earlier, civil liberties need to apply in times of national emergency. Otherwise,
what's the point?
What good are they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when we need the protections when we are when they are under attack.
We have only half a minute here. What do you think of Justice Thomas's wife sending this voice message to Anita? I need an inside beef.
I think
red meat to deal with.
Yeah, I would guess Justice Thomas won't be too happy that she had sent that message.
So he wouldn't?
I wouldn't think so, because it'll just relive the whole event, you know.
No, I'm not going to do that. Thank you so much for coming and
You're
coming on
welcome.
the show. I'll see you next week. And remember, nobody has a monopoly on stupidity.
Hey, American, looks like here we go again. See the world through the eyes of little boys or men, through the eyes of a little girl who's driven by her fear, or a woman who's found wisdom through her tears. Hey, American, some will go to any length to show the world what they believe to be their greatest strength. They wave a flag and shout outrageous rage, too loudly to ignore our greatest weakness that we've all seen before. Turn away or take a closer look, 'cause time goes by so fast, and that's you in the mirror of our past. Hey, Hey, American, do you think you'll ever learn? It's only fear that feeds the fire and makes your anger burn. Time will pass, your children will look back at where you stood, and they'll decide if the stand you took was good, or if real courage you ever understood. Turn away or take an honest look at last. That's you in the mirror of our past.
لو جيت في يوم ارسمك ارسم امل بسام ونرسم حضارة ومدن وبرك حمام ويمام